In traditional Chinese homes, the house is almost always surrounded by a wall. People walking along the street outside see nothing but that wall. What goes on inside, how people live, what the space looks like, is completely hidden from view. In many North American neighborhoods, the situation is almost the opposite. Houses face the street directly, with no wall at all. An open lawn stretches from the front door to the road, and anyone passing by can see the porch, the garden, even the light coming through the living room window. Chinese traditional walls are typically built from brick, stone, or concrete. Substantial structures, often standing 1.5 to 2 meters tall or more. They are not symbolic boundaries, they are real barriers. Standing outside, all you see is a solid wall, but step through the gate and you find yourself in a different world entirely. Courtyards, plants, the traces of daily life, all of it on the inside. The traditional Chinese home saves its richest face for those within and leaves a silent wall for those without. The clearest example of this logic is the Siheyuan, the classic Chinese courtyard house. 4 buildings arranged around an enclosed central courtyard, solid walls facing outward, family life turned entirely inward. The courtyard is the heart of the home. It is where family members come and go, where children play, where festivals and ceremonies take place. Someone passing outside has no idea how large the space is inside, who lives there, or what happens in that courtyard day to day. The Siheyun divides the world into 2 clear parts. Outside the wall, public, unfamiliar. Inside the wall, known and in its own kind of order. If you take this logic to its furthest extreme, you arrive at the Forbidden City. Its outer walls rise nearly 10 meters high, ringed by a wide moat, the entire complex sealed off from the world outside. Now, compare that to the White House. Its front face opens toward Pennsylvania Avenue, the building itself clearly visible to the public, its presence extending into the surrounding space rather than retreating from it. The contrast between these 2 buildings, each the seat of its country's power, makes the same point that the walls of ordinary homes make. The preference for enclosure, for turning inward, runs from the humblest courtyard house all the way to the highest levels of power. In North American neighborhoods, the approach is quite different. Low wooden fences, metal railings, or often nothing at all. Just a lawn that flows directly into the street. At the time this kind of neighborhood developed, the design assumed that public space was relatively safe, and that a degree of openness between neighbors was natural and desirable. It is worth noting that many older European cities also have walled courtyards and enclosed spaces of their own. This is not a simple east versus west divide, but as a general tendency, enclosure and openness do reflect 2 different ways of thinking about what a home is for. Behind these 2 approaches to space are 2 different ways of handling trust and familiarity. Traditional Chinese society tended to extend trust first to those already known, family, close acquaintances, people within the network, those outside the circle. Strangers and unfamiliar relationships were kept at a corresponding distance. This is not a statement about whether Chinese people trust others. It is about how trust was built through time and relationship, rather than offered by default. This spatial logic was reinforced further during the planned economy era, when work units, schools, and military compounds Each had their own surrounding walls, creating a landscape of separate, semi-enclosed communities nested inside the larger city. Today, these boundaries are beginning to shift. Some Chinese cities have started opening up gated residential communities, encouraging streets and public spaces to flow more freely together. At the same time, parts of North America are seeing a renewed interest in more enclosed private community design. The two approaches are no longer moving in completely opposite directions. Western societies have tended to extend life outward into public space. Chinese tradition has tended to draw life back inward into the family and the home. Where a wall is placed reflects something deeper than architecture. It reflects how a society understands strangers, trust, and the boundaries of safety. Buildings change over time, but the underlying sense of where the world ends and the home begins tends to last considerably longer.